Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on our coffee session this afternoon. Murray, how are you today?
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Good, and you got your cuppa with you?
There you are.
Yeah, and there as well, I've got mine, and we encourage you to get your cup of coffee. Just push pause, and when you're ready for it, will continue. We're going to speak today further on our people management model, and specifically addressing people planning, sourcing, selection, and role profiles. So let's just give you an overview once again of the model. We've got compliance, which we know we always have to comply to. Then we've got starting from our strategy right through to the exit management of employees. We got our different activities that we do there, and we call all of those talent management. And then we've got employee engagement. So depending on how well leaders implement all these activities here, that's what we would call engagement. And then we would know that we're in an environment of a changing environment. And as leaders, we need to enable that change, not just manage it, but we need to enable that change. So as indicated in the beginning, we're going to be addressing people planning, sourcing, and selection, indicated there, as well as the foundation to people management, which is a quality role profile. So let's get into them. As indicated, we always start with our strategy. We've got our plans, and we know our strategy also is underpinned by our architecture, which are all enabling activities required. Then from our strategy, we will start going into people planning. And Murray, will you just talk us through a few of these at the moment for now?
Good. Maybe you still remember what we've discussed with the previous session. We said with this COVID-19, probably most companies are rethinking their business, making plans going forward. And from research that we've done, we've also found that a large number of companies are actually thinking of reducing their people, retrenching them, or downsizing, whatever you want to call it. But there are also companies that are thinking of merging with other companies or even expanding their business, going into new avenues. Now, all of that has an impact on people, and that's why we need to have our people planning also ready for what's coming. We need to have the right quality and quantity of people in our organization. And if you plan, you actually spell out exactly how many people at what level, at what quality, what experience, and so forth you require. Once you've got that, you obviously need to get that into the organization, and that's where people sourcing selection comes into play. And this is really important. I'm not going to discuss the process of people sourcing and selection. I'd rather focus on the quality of people that you need to get into the organization. A players is a term that was coined by Mr. Bradford Smart. If you look at his definition of A players, he says that A players always exceeds established goals and objectives with a usually high degree of initiative and success. They are role models and energize teams to deliver outstanding performance. And I think this is important. So we need to always focus on the best and not settle for the second best. Now, Mr. Peter Drucker, who was really a guru in management, said that the ability to make good decisions regarding people represents one of the last reliable sources of competitive advantage, since very few organizations are very good at this. So, and then the last thing that I just want to sort of show you is a small team of A players can run circles around a giant team of B and C players. And Steve Jobs, we all know him, said that. Now, there's also ample research, and I'm just going to show you two examples of what the impact of talent really is. If you look at the top, for argument's sake, the top 3% of programmers produce 1,200% more lines of code than the average. And the top 20% produces up to 120% more than the average. And then looking at salespeople, the top 3% of salespeople produce up to 250% more than the average, and the top 20% produce up to 120% more. And I think that's significant, but that's now the upside to appoint only talent. There's also a huge cost if this is not the case, and Dennis will take us through that one.
Thank you. And yes, so you can see that in terms of, it's not about the process, but it's about the selection of the right caliber of people. But if we do select the wrong people, which is commonly referred to as C players, we can see from the research that was done by Jeff Smart that the bottom line cost for the organization is 14.6 times their base salary. Now that's enormous. So it's worth our while to spend time and ensure that we get the right people into the organization, the right competencies and skills, so that we don't have this kind of cost, which is very negative to the organization. If we start looking at the role profile, and once again, we would have the strategy, and if you can remember in the strategy, we would then have the architecture, where we would go through a whole lot of enabling factors which we need to do, which will lead us to our organizational design. Now, organizational design, as indicated previously, is commonly referred to as our organizational structure. And within the structure, there's different roles. So there's a role there, and let's say that is a role where Dennis finds himself. So the important part is that a quality role profile is not developed around Dennis as an individual, but around the role. So Murray, can you just talk us through this a bit?
Thanks, Dennis. And what Dennis has mentioned there is important. It's really focusing on the role and not the individual. First of all, I want to quickly just talk through the administrative requirements, and it might differ from company to company, because I understand that if you perhaps need different codes for a specific payroll system or whatever, and that's not the purpose of this. Normally what you'll find in the administrative sort of area is you will find the job title, you will find the level of the job, you will also find the date when it was sort of when the level was determined. You will find reporting lines and so on. So, but that's the one thing. The next one is actually really important, and that's the detailed duties and responsibilities of the role profile. So first of all, when you look at this part of the role profile, the purpose of the role needs to be sort of written, and it must be very clear and concise, not normally taking more than 2 or 3 lines, a short paragraph in other words. But it's quite important, because job titles can be very misleading, and we often use this definition to compare with similar roles in the market, for argument's sake, if you want to do a market comparison, a benchmarking on your remuneration.
Yeah.
Then secondly, key performance areas also in the role, and there might be a number of those. And those key performance areas, each one of them might have 1 or more key activities. And you always describe the activities in a form where you say what must be done, how it must be done, and why it should be done. And this is actually very nice when a new person joins the organization and you work through the role profile, the person gets a very good sense of what he or she needs to deliver in this role. The last column there is a percentage time, so you also allocate a percentage of time to each one of the KPIs, and that needs to add up to 100% at the bottom. So that's the area I think where the most focus should be in a role profile. The next one, look at role requirements, and first of all there's qualifications, formal qualifications, and there could be essential qualifications. So without those you can't enter the role, and then to add to that there might also be desirable types of qualification which could just add to the role. The next one is work-related experience. You first of all want to say how much experience must the person have in a specific role, let's say in a people management role. So that's the one, and then also critical experience or essential experience, and then also desirable experience. And the last one there is competencies. Now, we've seen a number of companies which spends large amounts of money to develop their own competency sort of profiles and that's all models, and that's not necessary. Those are available in the market and actually for free, very well researched competency frameworks. from which one can select competence for the role. And this helps with the selection. You can now use psychometric evaluation to measure those things that you normally do not sort of see in interviews with a person. So this just sort of increases the chances of appointing the right person in the organization. Last, we've got the approvals, and there are normally 3 signatures on that. The person to whom this role incumbent sort of reports to, the specialist, which is normally a HR person within the organization who needs to sign off on the quality of the role profile, and then lastly, there's a final sort of a sign-off, and that could be a person at a senior level in the organization. So, but just before we sort of end off, there's always a last step that you do, and that's a quality check. And here's a list of questions that you actually work through to make sure that you, in the end, have a quality role profile. And remember, it's really important to make sure that you do have quality role profiles, because all of your people practices, that is now from starting with your advertisement, which is based on the role profile. If you advertise for a new employee, when you do your performance management, at least 80% of your KPIs in your performance management will or performance plan will come from the role profile. You'll just add the measurable part in your performance plans. When you look at remuneration management, as I said, you use role profiles to compare with the market, and so you can carry on. So it's really worth our while to make sure that we've got quality role profiles in the organization.
Thank you, Murray. I think it's what is important for us here is to just, should you require any assistance within either in your planning or your sourcing and selection, either process-wise or just more information on specifically A players and selection of them, and then also to define or develop role profiles, don't hesitate in contacting us. You can see we've added Wilma on our slide. Wilma is heads up the recruitment component within our business. But kindly contact any one of us. Got our numbers there. Also, you can go on our website, and our landline is also there to contact us. So we are open at the moment in time, working virtually. So welcome to contact us anytime. And thank you very much for spending the afternoon with us. And Murray, have a good afternoon further.
Thank you.